Hello class, today is Thursday, October 29th. My name is Ms. Kalman. I'm a teacher here at Tenafly Middle School and I am your guest teacher filling in for Miss Newman for today. So at this point you should write down the homework. It's a two-sided handout. You will receive it at the end of class. All right, moving on to the notes. So today we are going to start divisibility. You had a quiz yesterday and today we're starting learning about how the term divisibility is different than the operation divide. Sure, they are very similar with similar letters, and I would consider them distant cousins in a way. So what is divisibility? A number is divisible, and write that word down in the blank, by another number if upon division there is no remainder. There is no number left over. I call it pretty division. So 12 is divisible by 3, since 12 divided by 3 equals 4. It's not 4 and then a number left over, like remainder 2 or remainder 3. An example of a number that is not divisible, like 10 divided by 3, 10 divided by 3 would be 3 remainder 1, and so that's a non-example. So 12 is not divisible by 5, since 12 divided by 5 is 2, and then there's 2 left over, or 2.4. So when you have a decimal or any remainder, it's not divisible. So does divisible and divide mean the same thing? So what do you think? So right now, I want the substitute to pause the video, and I want you to turn and talk with your neighbor and ask each other if divisible and divide is the same thing. So you have 2 minutes to do this. Okay, so now here we go. So the answer is no, they are not the same thing. They're distant cousins, like I said earlier in the video, but they are not the same thing. Divisible is like a more specific version of division. That divide is an operation and divisible is a characteristic, meaning it goes in evenly. So let's move on. Today we are going to do, we're going to talk about a few rules. We're going to talk about quite a bit. The first we're going to start off is 2. And a number is divisible by 2 if the last digit is an even number. A number is divisible by 5 if it ends in a 5 or a 0, and a number is divisible by 10 if it ends in a 0. So therefore, since these both have a 0 on it, any number that's divisible by 10 will always be divisible by 5. However, the opposite isn't true. Every number divisible by 5 isn't always divisible by 10. Okay, so now we're going to start on the warm-up. And the warm-up is at the bottom of this paper. And for the warm-up, oops, bear with me. All right, so for the warm-up, we're going to go through and apply those 3 rules that we just learned. So in the first one, even numbers are divisible by 2. This is a little reminder of the rules we just went through. Numbers ending in 0 and 5 are divisible by 5, and numbers ending in 0 are divisible by 10. So these rules for the following numbers determine whether they are not divisible, whether or not they are divisible by 2, 5, and 10. If the number is divisible, then write the quotient. The quotient, remember, is the answer to a division problem. If it is not divisible, then you can just put an X. The first column is done as an example. So here is the first column. And the first column that we have here is, does 2 go into 12? And yes, it does go into 12, and it goes into 12, so therefore you can say 12 is divisible by 2. The quotient, the answer, how many times does 2 go into 12, is 6 times. Is 12 divisible by 5? So you can kind of think of it as, is 12 divisible by 5? And the answer is no, and the reason why is because 12 ends in a 2, and the rule for 5 is it has to end in a 5 or a 0. So is 12 divisible by 10 now? Oops, there we go. And remember, the rule for 10 is the number has to end in a 0. 12 ends in a 2, so therefore it's no, and so you can put an X. It is quite snug with showing your work, so feel free to show your work on scratch paper if you need to. Right now, substitute, please pause the video, and students, I want you to work independently and silently for the next 5 to 10 minutes, filling in the rest of the columns for 36, 220, 4,484, 500, and 1,234,565. Okay, now I would like for you to do the rest, check your work. Two goes into 36 18 times. 2 goes into 220 110 times. 2 goes into 4,484 2,242 times. 2 is divisible, goes in by 250 times. And 2 does not go into 1,234,565, so therefore I put the X. So please check your answers for the rest of the problems. All right, when you're finished, flip over the notes. And so now we're going to review what even numbers are and odd numbers are. And sure, we might be able to quickly recognize it, but I think it's important to have a clear definition. So even numbers are numbers where the last digit of the number ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. So make sure you write down those digits on your notes. And now let's review 2 more rules. And the rule that we're going to start off with today is, well, another rule is to determine if a number is divisible by 3. And a number is divisible by 3 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So we're going to start off by asking ourselves, ask yourself, what is the sum of the digits of 345? So for 345, I ask myself, what is the sum number? And that's 3 plus 4 plus 5. And I'm adding these numbers. I'm throwing in a plus sign in between each digit. So 3 plus 4 plus 5 gives me 12. Does 3 go into 12 evenly? Is it divisible? And the answer is yes. So therefore, you can say if 3 goes into 12 evenly, 3 is going to go into 345 evenly. For the actual quotient, we have to do long division, but we at least know that 345 is divisible by 12. So right now, can you come up with a number that is divisible by 3? So please pause the video, and I want you to turn and talk, and I'm going to add a little bit more to this. I want you to come up with a 4-digit number . A 4-digit number that is divisible by 3. So you can pause the video, turn and talk, and share with the class. Okay, so now let's move on to our example. Okay, so tell whether the following numbers are divisible by 3. Give the sum of the digits and answer yes or no. So the very first one that we are going to do is 333. So you are going to write 333. So you're going to add 3 plus 3 plus 3. And 3 plus 3 plus 3 gives you 9. And does 3 go into 9? The answer is yes. So since 3 goes into 9, 3 is going to go evenly into 333. And that's why we have yes written. So right now I want you to find the sum number of 34, 456, 786, 7,492, and 64,422. Write the sum number and then determine if 3 goes into that sum number evenly. And if it does, then write yes. That means it's going to go into the problem evenly. So you can pause the video and the class could have about 10 minutes to answer these questions. Okay, so now let's take a look at the answers. So for this one, I added 3 plus 4 and I got 7. 3 doesn't go into 7, so therefore 3 doesn't go into 34. For number 3, I did 4 plus 5 plus 6, and I got 15. 3 goes into 15, so therefore 3 will go evenly into 456. For number 4, I did 7 plus 8 plus 6. I got 21. 3 goes into 21, so therefore 3 will go evenly into 786. For number 5, I did 7 plus 4 plus 8 plus 2. And my sum number is 21. Since 3 goes into 21, 3 will go evenly into 7,482. And for the last one, number 6, I got 64,422. So 3 goes into 18, and so therefore 3 will go evenly into 64,422. So the last and final rule we're going to go through is the rule for sixes. So now there are some directions here, and the directions say, get out a highlighter, and in the problems above, highlight the numbers that are even. So if you have to get out a highlighter, you can do that. Or if you have to borrow from Ms. Newman's collection, you can do that. So the highlighter, the directions say to highlight the even numbers. So 333, it ends in 3, and we just took notes that saying any number that ends in a 3 is odd. So we're not going to highlight that. This is even, this is even, this is even, this is even, and this is even. So most of them are even. And next, okay, there we go. Bear with me here. We're going to know the rule for 6. A number is divisible by 6 if it is divisible by both 2 and 3. So now I'm going to look up above at this list, and so it needs to be divisible by 2 and 3. So divisible by 2 is if it's highlighted. Divisible by 3 if it has yes. So in other words, it needs to be highlighted and it needs to have yes. It has to have both. So in number 1, it has yes here, but it's not highlighted. So that's definitely not divisible by 6. Number 2, it's highlighted, but it has no. So not 6. Number 3, it's highlighted and it says yes. So 456 we're going to add to this list. Okay. Number 4, it's highlighted and it has the word yes, so therefore it's also divisible by 6. And do you know what? For these, I'm just going to throw a 6 over here. So 786, I'm going to add to my list. Number 5, it's highlighted and it has the word yes. So I'm going to throw a 6 here. And 7,482. And for number 6, it's highlighted and the word yes. That means it's divisible by 2 and it's divisible by 3. So therefore, it's divisible by 6. Wonderful. So to recap, we went over the rules today for 2, 5, 10, 3, and 6. Okay, wonderful. Are there any questions? If there's any questions, please raise your hand. The substitute teacher can answer your questions, or perhaps a peer can answer your questions. At this point, the homework will be distributed. It's a two-sided worksheet. You should work independently and quietly until the end of the period. We will be checking your work tomorrow in class, so please make sure to show all of your work on the homework sheet or attach a piece of scrap paper. Good luck.